Welcome to this episode of the Growthcast, another extended cut. Very fortunate today to have a couple of industry experts in with us. We have good Joe Hupp and Shay Oliver with us today. They're marketers. We're going to be diving into them and what they do and pick their brain about a few things to hopefully, not even hopefully, I know the things that they will share will help you guys. So please do listen, take notes. These guys are full of knowledge, so we're super lucky to have them on the Growthcast. Before we get started, though, why don't y'all introduce yourselves? Joe, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Joe Hupp. I like to tell people that I've been in digital marketing since before Google was a verb. Okay. So I've been in it a while. It's been a number of years. But yeah, I've pretty much my whole career has been around digital marketing. So kind of early stages. Been in it for over 20 years now doing digital marketing. I've seen companies come and go. I've seen the growth of Google, all these different companies, but have specialized in direct response. So getting people to take action through an ad or through whatever means, just on digital, getting them to take action. So thanks for having us on, Jackson. Excited to dig in on stuff I nerd out on.
Sweet.
Yeah. Funny thing, Joe and I, we worked together back in, what was it, 2000?
2001. Yeah.
2001, we were both, back then it was all about e-commerce, and we were both running different e-commerce businesses and working together in an e-commerce based public company and having a good time. I was the chief marketing officer at the time, and just learned that's kind of where it all began in the mid to early 90s, when storefronts and websites came out and e-commerce began to be a thing. I kind of caught the bug of like, wow, this is pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
And just started a business and eventually became a marketing leader in an organization that just took off. And about 2 years ago, Joe and I started an agency, a little less than 2 years ago. We're still pretty new. We left corporate world and started an agency called Media Optimizers, and we were having a lot of fun.
And you guys have grown really quick.
Yeah.
Over the past two years, is that all that it's been? Is 2 years you guys started Media Optimizers?
Yeah, about 18 months.
Yeah. That's awesome.
2 years. So.
Do you mind sharing how many clients already you guys have picked up in that short of time?
Well, quantity for us is not the goal.
Okay, that's okay.
Quality and just the right kind of handpicking the right clients has been our goal. We probably have a dozen right now.
Yeah, a dozen. Yep, we have about 10 employees.
That's
in the last
awesome.
18 months. Yeah. So,
but yeah, awesome. We've certainly been selective in that process, and those that we're working with are they're our friends. They're like great relationships. We're kind of a part of their company.
Awesome.
And just loving it.
You guys, I know you guys market for the Multifamily Mindset, right? Who sponsors this podcast, and it is. Yeah. You guys do a fantastic job. We've had leads galore.
Thank you.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you guys on is to figure out how you guys did that and try to pull some of that knowledge out of you, so these entrepreneurs that are listening to this episode can hopefully apply some of those principles and apply some of those tactics and strategies to their businesses, so that they can grow their thing. Right?
Yeah, sure.
That's what we're trying to do. So.
I was just going to say, I think it's important what Shay said is that, it's not been about quantity for us, right? It's been about who we're working with.
Yeah.
And, I think that's important for any entrepreneur is don't chase the money, chase kind of what do you want? What's the outcome? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to help? What's your mission? What's your goal? That's what we've stayed focused on. And that's why it's allowed us to be really selective with who we work, and that's why we enjoy what we do too.
Yeah, that's a good point. A good point. And I'm sure it's much easier for you guys to scale at that point too, when it's people you're working with that you like to work with, and that being more selective even there. That's a huge. It doesn't even have anything to do with marketing, but that's a huge principle to pull out for sure.
Well, and we've been blessed, super grateful to work with people that we enjoy. I mean, I hope that everybody, gets that I'd say opportunity, or has
that a focus.
Yeah, because if otherwise it can be tough. Life can be tough.
It can be grind.
So let's dive into marketing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if you had to pull one single most important piece out of marketing, what would be the single most important piece?
Oh, that's a good question.
I would venture to say that the number one element of marketing is really who you're marketing to.
Yeah.
It's audience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it all starts. If you're a small business owner, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're wanting to kind of just get started in something, really defining clearly who that audience is critical. And it's less about what they look like, more about what are their dreams, what do they believe, how do they feel, what are the things they do in their lives, and just kind of getting clear on that. So more psychographics, less demographics.
I like that.
They come together, but it starts with, any solid marketing platform starts with a belief. It starts with, hey, Elon Musk, good example. We were just talking about him earlier. Is the brand Tesla or is it Elon Musk? And what's the belief there? I mean, he's kind of got his own agenda, and a lot of people just latch on to that. And
I think that's so interesting because whenever I've heard the word demographic, I've always thought like defining
that
who it is.
Everything.
You know what I mean? Like I think of an age group or a gender or you know what I mean, or a specific industry as your demographic. I've never even thought of or even heard of psychographic. This is the first time I've ever heard of that, and that is powerful.
MFM's a good example of that. It's if you were to go into demographics, it's very broad. It's very broad. When you get down to psychographics, these are entrepreneurs. These are people that recognize opportunity and are willing to act on it and want and they're, I think in many cases, faith-based from the standpoint of a bias to action.
Well, and when you do it that way, when you look at your audience that way, I mean, again, as you're starting a business, you obviously have a solution for them, right? A product or a service that can help them. And if you truly understand what is it that they really want, then how can I help them, right? Because it becomes about service. How can I help that customer get what they want in life? And when you do that, that's when you find really success, and the marketing becomes pretty easy at that point.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Joe's taking that audience, the who side of marketing, to the next level, which is a very important level to get to, and that is actually caring.
Yeah.
Do you really care about that tribe that is your potential customer? Yeah. If you care genuinely, then you're going to act in ways that serve that group, and without that true, genuine kind of care and love for the group, I think you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
In anything you do.
That's awesome.
Well, especially with how much we're bombarded with ads and media and advertising today versus 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to cut through the noise, and one way you do that is by showing a legitimate care for who you're working with. Yeah.
Being genuine with people. That was going to be my next question, is how has it changed over the past 20 years? You said you guys have been in it 20 years. I know you've been doing it since, I think you said yesterday, 96.
Yeah, 96. I mean, arguably, I served a mission prior to that, but 96 is really where it started.
So you guys have been doing it for so long. So you had, like you said, the pre-Google verb days, the pre-Google it.
Which is dating us, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
we're getting old, but so we grew up. We grew up pre-internet.
Yeah.
And so we definitely saw that revolution come.
Yeah.
And that's a significant revolution. It's definitely something to understand because, you've got, most people don't live through very many revolutions that change the world.
Yeah.
And the whole digital internet revolution was massive, and arguably its biggest impact was in marketing. And I think really, Growthcast is a perfect example of the change, because today anybody can target an audience very specifically.
Yep.
Whereas you backtrack even 25, 30 years, you've got to be P&G or Microsoft.
Big budget.
Yep. Big shotgun budgets, big Super Bowl ads, national ads. I mean, you couldn't micro-target pregnant women, that, So, you know,
That
I mean, whatever
visited
that
the
little,
store
I'm
a
trying
day
to come up
ago,
with
or- yeah.
an audience example, and I went to pregnant women, but it's, you know, I don't know why I went there, but I've never marketed to that audience before, but, you know, pick your audience, whatever
Yeah.
it might be. You know, that's just, back in the day, that's just really hard to reach them.
Yeah, and now I'm sure it's much easier to define that demographic. That's
Yeah.
probably why you said
Yeah.
pregnant women,
Yeah.
because you couldn't
Yeah.
even define
Yeah.
it pregnant women
Yeah.
25 years ago. You
Yep.
probably couldn't even define it as that. So even nowadays, that's probably one of the biggest changes, is that with these tools like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Google, you can just
hone in on
just
your market.
narrow
Hone
it
in,
way
yeah.
down to exactly who it is that
Yeah.
you're looking for.
The other thing I would say too that's changed over the past 20, 30 years is if you look at the volume of ads that we saw that were in our face 20 to 30 years ago, the numbers today are just staggering compared to what they used to
Yeah.
be, right? And
Yeah.
so again, it calls for you being unique. It calls for you being real, raw. It calls for those things. Otherwise, you're just gonna be white noise, right?
Yeah.
Because they're seeing so many ads on the television. They've got their smartphones that they're on constantly on social media. Ads are being served up constantly.
Yeah.
And so how do you cut through the noise? How do you break through to that targeted audience that you're trying to get
Without sharing your guys' secrets, because it's obviously what you guys do, and you don't want to share all your tips and tricks, would you say that the biggest thing to cut through that white noise to get to your client, to your potential clientele, is being genuine? Do you think that's probably the biggest thing, or what would you say is the biggest thing that will cut through that white noise? Well, again, I don't want you guys to
Yeah,
share your
no.
secret sauce, but
No, it's not secret sauce,
Yeah.
really. I mean, you know, I think getting their attention
Yeah.
is actually not that hard.
Right.
You know, we follow a principle called pattern interrupt. If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, you're in a certain pattern that
Yeah.
you're typically used to doing, and then boom, something pops up, and whoa, wait,
yeah,
and you sit there because it's like something in your brain was like, whoa, how does this come
I gotta
together?
stop and look. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why is this horse kicking this guy across, into
Yeah.
a swimming pool or
Yeah.
whatever, right? I mean, it could be
Something, yeah.
clickbait or whatever, but
Yeah.
so it's not hard to get that. But where it becomes part of the challenge, and I think platform to platform there are different nuances to this, but part of the challenge is capturing the attention of the right people and quickly trying to dismiss the attention of the people you don't want to be, to be paying money to get in front of, right?
Yeah.
So taking YouTube as an example, you're advertising on YouTube, you've got that, skippable section there.
yeah,
And you really don't want people who aren't your potential customer to go past that. You want them skipping that ad
Yeah.
because you don't want to have to
pay for it.
sit and pay for that. So
Yeah.
Well, and I think going to Shay's point, right? I mean, interrupting what they're doing, understanding, why are they on this social media platform helps you understand how can I break through that noise to at least just do the pattern interrupt, get their attention. But then just going into the fact of, what creates that stickiness with them. Because, the shiny object syndrome, we like to call it, they're always on to the next thing, the next ad, the next thing. How do you make them sticky? And you do that by providing value, like providing real value to your customers and keeping them, I don't want to say on the hook, but keeping them on the hook
it's essentially
with
what it is,
value,
yeah.
moving them step by step closer to whatever their aspiration is,
Giving
whatever
them a
their goal
reason,
is.
giving them a reason to stay on your ad and keep watching.
Yeah.
yeah.
Giving them some sort of value,
Yep.
some sort of knowledge, some sort of opportunity even to learn more. Just presenting that to them quickly so that they stick around on the ad, like you're saying.
Yeah, we call it the WIIFM, like what's in it for me, right? Is answering that question, because you'll see a lot of influencers and people that talk a lot about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, let's be real. I mean, they don't care too much. I mean, there is some aspects that they do care about if they can identify with you and want to follow what you have to say. But how can you help them get to their goals? What's in it for them? What's in it for me? That's what they're asking themselves. So how can you cut through that and tell them what's in it for that person?
It's awesome. This is so many. Did you have something you wanted to add on top of that?
No, that's, benefits, leading with benefits,
Yeah.
and, versus features, which is typically talking about yourself or your product, right?
Yeah. Making
what's
it
in
about
for
them.
Yeah. Benefits sell, features tell. That'll help you remember.
There you go.
Right there.
That's awesome. So obviously the Growthcast is tailored to entrepreneurs, people coming up, people trying to start their own businesses, follow their dreams of doing that, and hopefully grow something large and sustainable, and that could help them generationally. One of the biggest struggles that I'm seeing here within the multifamily mindset and our student base is they don't know where to start. They don't know if they should create a Facebook page for their business or if they should promote on their personal page. They don't know. Same thing on Instagram. They don't know if they should start a new Instagram at so-and-so Capital Partners, at so-and-so Capital, or whatever. They don't know which way to go. So one of the things that I wanted to hammer down today is somebody that's starting a new business. They want to get on social media. They want to start marketing themselves, start creating content, start creating that value. Where should they do that? Should they do that on their personal side? Should they start a totally new business account and start going there? I'm assuming the answer is probably both. Well, do a little bit of both, but I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on that.
Yeah, I'll start off with that one. So, again, we find this in marketing. There's not a one size fits all, and I think that is why it's so important to step back and go, who are you talking to? Yeah. Who do you really want? Who's really going to be interested in what you have to offer, and where are they? Yeah, what's going on? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Yeah. Surprisingly, we like to think that TikTok is full of teenagers and kids scrolling through that. But reality of it is, you got a lot of adults, older adults that are on there as well. So understanding that will help you go, okay, I want to start here on Facebook, or I want to start here on YouTube, or wherever that might be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you take kind of what Shay was saying, TikTok as an example, right? Right now, personal finance is the number one category on TikTok. It's not teenagers doing the dances; it's personal finance. Wow. And so you wouldn't know that, right? But again, going back to what Shay said, who's my audience? Where are they? And I would even add, why are they on the platform? What are they there for? So if somebody's going on to YouTube, right, depending on their age, they might be doing different things. They might be going onto YouTube to learn something, a skill, or learn about something. Or they might just go, I need some brainless, humor. So if you understand why they're also using the platform, that helps you adapt your messaging to why they're using the platform and capture their attention and go, okay, this guy's funny, or this content's really helpful. It's going to help me do X, Y, or Z, right? Mm-hmm. But then the next thing I would say to your question is, where do we start? Do we do a personal, as Shay mentioned, it is not a one size fits all. But once you know that, I quote this all the time. My team's probably tired of hearing me say this, but there's an advertiser, marketer, really successful marketer, kind of known as the grandfather of direct response marketing, but Claude Hopkins. And he did say, it's easier to make a person famous than it is a business. And I think that's fairly relevant to our time right now.
For sure.
With social media, because you see a lot of influencer marketing, you see a lot of those types of marketing rather than big business, right? If you watch TV right now, even like I was watching an Applebee's commercial the other day, they were doing a TikTok dance on TV, right?
Wow.
And so I'm thinking, okay, here's somebody who kind of understands the audience and how things have changed a little bit. And they literally ran the same ad on TV as they did on TikTok, right? And so the idea is, it's a little bit more personalized when you do something like that. So again, it's not a one size fits all, but typically I would say, people want to trust in you as an individual. And so it would be to start to promote yourself and add that credibility that you have. For example, let's look at your, the multifamily space. You're wanting to go find investors to invest in your deal, right? The feature, as we've talked about benefits and features, the feature would be kind of maybe some of the numbers and the returns that you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
That's important. Don't get me wrong. The investor wants to know that, but if they don't have confidence in you, they're not going to invest. It doesn't matter how good the return looks.
Yeah.
They're not going to invest because they don't have confidence in you. I mean, think about Tyler, for example. People invest with him because of his track record, one, but two, because of who he is. He's just
Right.
a good human being, and he's a butt kicker.
Yeah.
People are going to follow him and work with him because they know he's going to get the results. They can trust him, and they can put their money with that individual or the group of individuals that they're going to work with. So
That's such a good answer. So like, I think an important thing to pull out of what you're saying is that I'm just realizing is how important it is to, even if you're not posting on your personal page about your business, be careful of what it is that you're posting there, because eventually your clientele is going to end up there and seeing you there.
Yeah.
So it definitely is important what it, if once you've determined whether you want to go personal or business page, it's still so important to know what's happening on the personal page and making sure you're paying attention to those things as well.
yeah, if you're saying one thing here and doing something else over here, they don't align.
Yeah.
And chances are they're not going to invest or they're not going to
Yeah.
sign up or whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish there. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that, Shay?
No, I think that hits it really well. And you do have to kind of be a little bit strategic, because you can't be the ace of all platforms. It's just too much, unless you're well funded and you've got
a big team.
You've got a team.
Yeah.
You're not going to be Grant Cardone, day one.
Right.
So where do you start? And again, that's why you've got to drill down and say, well, what's the smallest viable market audience? Viable audience, meaning how small can I get? How niche can I get and still make a living? Accomplish some goals here, and then just zero in on that audience, because it's a lot easier to get their attention. It's a lot cheaper to get their attention than it is to go, super broad in the beginning. So
And one thing I'd add to that too is just do it, right? Just start, because it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? I guarantee if you look at even Grant Cardone, who posts a ton, if you go back to the beginning when he was posting, some of his posts were not good.
No.
Right? And so if you look, a lot of people just kind of let the starting stop them. It was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. It's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. Right? All right. Try to put something out of value. And if it comes out mediocre, hey, at least you did it. You took action. You're moving towards
learning from
and
those as
you're
well,
learning from it, and then use the data, right? How many people engaged with your post? How many people took action that you wanted them to take? And then learn from that and adjust, and just keep fine tuning rather than trying to get it perfect on your first post. Go live tomorrow. Do something, right? Get out there and do something, because when you do that, that's when you're going to learn. Right, that's when you're going to learn, and that's when you're going to be able to make adjustments.
That's such such valuable content and such valuable things to know, for sure. As we're kind of wrapping up here, believe it or not, it's already been 25 minutes. We've already been chatting.
Jeez.
I know. As we kind of wrap up here, though, I think it's super important to understand. I guess the question that I want to ask is, how important is transparency when doing marketing? And where does that transparency come? Because you obviously kind of want to leave them on the hook and almost leave a question mark at the end so they continue to stay. How do you make sure to keep an honest message there and a transparent message there while keeping them on the hook?
Yeah, it's
kind of a loaded question.
It's a good question.
It's not one that not one that I threw to you guys before,
okay.
but it's one that kind of just popped up as we were chatting here.
Well, I think that goes back to being genuine.
Yeah.
For sure. But it also touches on being vulnerable, being real.
Yeah.
And it's hard, with reality TV and social media, what it is today, those who aren't real are kind of uncovered quickly, and unless you're a superstar of some sort, you can't continue to hold an audience without being transparent, without actually kind of, talking through the pains and the other parts. I mean, again, I'm thinking of the example of, if I wanted to attract investors to a deal that I'm offering, or just wanting to build a network of accredited investors, I would need to talk about how, oh man, I've felt some pain doing deals in the past. I've learned my lessons from it, and that's a message that's probably going to resonate really well and earn trust. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at social media, we're so used to only presenting our best selves, not our real selves in a lot of instances. So I agree 100% with that there's a level of trust that comes from being transparent. Everybody knows that you're not perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Quit pretending to be.
Yeah. Don't pretend to be.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying air out all of your dirty laundry,
Right.
But what I am saying is you can be authentic and you can be real and you can be genuine and you can say, hey, look, this is a struggle I have, but this is how we overcame it. This is a deal that we had and it cost me some money, right? I left some money on the table or I did this, but here's what I learned for it and I won't ever do that again. All of a sudden, now my confidence in you has grown a ton because I'm like, all right, yeah. I know that he's not been perfect in all of his deals. He or she's not been perfect in all their deals, but guess what? They're learning from it. They're growing. They're moving forward. That's the type of person I want to attach to. That's who I want to work with.
Such a good point. Yeah. Such a good point. Last question that I want to ask.
Okay.
Somebody that's just getting started. I know we kind of already touched on this a little bit, but as we're kind of signing off here, what would be something that you guys might have told yourselves before you started, not knowing what you know now? We don't even have to go back all the way to the beginning, but knowing what you know now, knowing what you know now, what would you have changed as you guys were building these companies and as you guys were building these marketing teams? What's the biggest takeaway from all of the experience that you guys have had and for our listeners?
I can throw one out.
Yeah.
That I don't know if this is the biggest, but this is just an important one today. Owning your data, owned data is a term that's becoming really popular right now, and those that understood it years ago are actually thriving because of that. And I bring it up because as you get into building an audience on a platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. You're trying to build an audience there, and a subtle change in the algorithm can wreck businesses. It does it. Businesses rise and fall when Google says, "Oh, let's release this change."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a thriving business has no audience.
Yeah.
Alternatively, a business that actually captures customer information, that is easy to do. Right. There's some techniques there that captures an email or a phone number, name, phone number, some of that. Now they own that data. That's in-house for them. And if things change, if algorithms change and they lose the audience, no, they can still connect with that data. I think that's just subtle and important. And we've at Media Optimizers, I feel like we've cracked the code on kind of a Swiss Army knife for small businesses. That call a little platform called Engager that helps small businesses do that efficiently, and I think that's going to become more important as time goes on.
100%. I mean, if you look at the privacy updates with Facebook and Google, owning your data is that's a great point because you control the platform, if you will. If it's email or text, you can kind of control that platform. Man. The one I would add, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel like a lot of businesses get stuck in that analysis paralysis where they overthink things. And if I've learned anything, and I think Shay would admit this as well, like if you are a really good marketer, you know that you don't know everything, and so you're willing to test. Like we kind of live by a mantra: the moment you stop testing, you die, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to test things and see what works, and just continue to try and innovate and try new things. Yeah. And that's what marketing is about, is figuring it out. And that's why I love marketing so much, is because it's never the same. Like every day, it's something different that I get to go in and figure out, but.
It's like your guys' answers go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
If you're always running those tests, then you can have an idea of what's working for when the algorithm changes.
Right.
You kind of already have an idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So just, don't get stuck in that. Don't get stuck in it's got to be perfect. It's got to be this. It's not going to be perfect. Guess what? It's not.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And then there's been things where Shay and I have tried over the past 20 plus years where we're like, there's no way that's going to work, and it works like a charm. And you're like, oh, all right. So, you can't have an ego. You got to check your ego at the door if you're going to be good at marketing.
That's awesome.
Just figure it out and just keep moving forward with it.
And that's awesome. Yeah. Was there something else?
No, just an amen to that.
Amen
it's
to that.
true.
Yeah. Awesome. Shay and Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. You guys are very high demand, and you guys do a great job of what you do. So I'm very, very fortunate and very grateful to have you all on the Growthcast this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Fun to be here.
Of course. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and followed the Growthcast, whether that's on social media or whether that's where you're watching this, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review. We want to reach as many people as possible, and that's the only way that we can do that. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Shay and Joe, appreciate you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Take care.